to the OddsBreakers, the number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
What's happening, my friends? Welcome back to podcast 52-2018. I am your host, Kiev O'Neil. You can tweet me at the Public Dog, or you can tweet us at the OddsBreakers. Should you be looking for a sports book, please visit mybookie.ag. And from what I'm seeing, you can still actually get a 100% sign-up bonus. They didn't take it down yet. They told me they were, but they didn't. So if you're just thinking about joining, you can still take advantage of that. I don't know when they're going to take it down because that should be back to 50%, but it's not. So use the promo code TheOddsBreakers to take advantage of that. If you'd like to help us out with our costs, we want to help you out to be an OddsBreakers member by becoming a patron subscriber from theoddsbreakers.com. And you'll get the podcast a little bit early, in many cases. We're going to do a college one soon for basketball. And you will get our picks before the line moves when we make the bets. And our premium picks as well. So if nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com to become a newsletter subscriber for our picks. For our free picks, that is. NBA's ramping up. NHL is rolling, and college football is kicking ass. Been having some good weeks in a row here. Really happy about that. NFL's actually not been too shabby either. We kind of figured a few teams out. Always got to be following those injuries. But we have a great show for you today because we have back our buddy who's been killing it in the NFL, Cub Fan Danny. And let's not forget about UFC 230 this weekend. Some big fights. Some huge fights. Can't wait to get into that with Danny. And some huge games this week, right? In college football, absolutely huge games. And, I'm going to talk about all of them. I mean, we're not going to bet them all necessarily, but we're going to talk about all of them so you can kind of at least get our thoughts on it if they're leaning aside or whatever. Obviously, you can tweet us at the OddsBreakers. I control the Twitter account most cases, and I want, I'll give you what my thoughts are. If there's a specific question that I think one of our divisional conference or divisional type handicappers would answer better, I tweet them. I bring them in on the question. So if you want us to take a look at a game for you, I can run it through the algorithm, check out the power ratings, look at some of the injuries, weather, matchups, metrics, all that stuff. I can do it pretty fast. Probably takes me 10 to 15 minutes to really look into it. But I'm happy to do that for you guys because sometimes someone will tweet at me a question and I'll be like, man, I should have been looking at this game a little bit more. I see an angle. Let's get into college football week 10, my friends, with some free picks. Let's get back to the well here with Texas A&M versus Auburn, -6 over under 49. I think the spread's down to 4. I can't really prepare numbers on this one because, as you know, the Aggies, they've played Alabama, they played Clemson, and, the Tigers here, the Auburn Tigers, their toughest game was home versus LSU. Their schedule doesn't quite match up. They both got beat by Mississippi State. But Auburn, what we do know is their Washington win isn't looking as good. It's not, right? We can see when we watch Auburn how much of a problem they have on their offensive line. Their terrible line is the reason they lost to Tennessee, actually. If they can't get Stidham going, they can't win. So that's what I like about Texas A&M. Texas A&M ranks 21st in the country in sacks per game. 21st. That's pretty good. It's probably average for SEC, but that's all you should need against an Auburn team now. I think the fact that they're going to get to the quarterback is going to make it a longer day for Auburn. And I have this game that Auburn should be favored by 1 point. in my power ratings and using the situations. I don't think they should be laying 6. Okay. So I think this is why you saw the line move down from 6 to 4. I also like the under here at 49 because both teams average less than 24 points versus conference opponents. When you look at versus conference, both teams, they don't average many points, and their defenses are even better. So we're taking this all the way down to 3. We're taking Texas A&M, obviously, on the side there. And we are also going to be taking the under. Don't forget to
sprinkle that shit.
All right. Florida Atlantic versus Florida International University. I wrote it FAU versus FIU. Nice and easy, right? If you see it, you'll see that on our newsletter. FIU is laying minus 3.5 points. Ooh, the hook right there, right? Well, I was high on Florida Atlantic coming in. Very high. And I think I jumped the gun a bit, thinking their defenses was going to improve and get much better. And I also thought that Chris Robinson can replace Jason Driscoll. Lots of replacements on offense, and we are seeing that it didn't pan out that well. Since last year, the Owls have dropped 1 yard per play from 6.8 to 5.8 on offense, and also lost 0.8 yards per play on defense. They're now giving up 6 yards per play. Okay? Not good. They lost too much offensive production. It does show. The Golden Panthers, on the other hand, are the Florida Atlantic of last year. They are 6-1 against the spread and continue to be underrated by Vegas. Underrated. All right? They're averaging 6.4 yards per play and giving up 5.4 on defense. Their quarterback, James Morgan, has a 166 passer rating and a 65% completion percentage this year. Chris Robinson at Florida Atlantic only got 120 college passer rating. Okay. So as you can see, there's the better quarterbacks on FIU, the home games on FIU. This spread's a little light here. And that's why this 3.5, they're trying to tempt you to take the Florida Atlantic side, but no, this should be a 6-point spread. And I think it's only also because of the name, Florida Atlantic. And I think it's what people remember how great against the spread they were last year. This spread is wrong. It's a setup. The Owls are 1-7 against the spread. Take Florida International minus 3.5. Let's move into the Pac-12. Pretty big game. Stanford versus the Washington Huskies, laying minus 9.5 here. All right. What the hell happened to these two top 10 preseason ranked teams, right? Well, in top 10 or 12. I know Stanford was, 10 or 12 around that area. I don't have a clue. But I do know that Jake Browning is kind of in the hot seat here. Chris Peterson wants to kind of see what his backup has. KJ Costello, on the other hand, when allowed to throw the ball, has completed 67% of his passes, and he has a 156 passer rating. He's got those big tight ends over there. Browning got a 12-8 TD to interception ratio. Costello has a 17-6 TD interception ratio. Both teams are about 6 yards per play on offense. And now I know that Washington, they do show better on defense. I know this. But who has Stanford and Washington played? Well, Washington played an offensively challenged Auburn, a Utah team very early in the year. They played Oregon and really no other ranked teams. Stanford just went through a gauntlet of tough teams, and they've actually came out okay. Let's take a look at what Stanford did here. First of all, Love's been banged up, and I think he's doing a little bit better. But they played at Oregon. They played at Notre Dame. They won against Oregon, lost at Notre Dame. They played Utah at home, tired spot. At ASU, won that game. And then they played Washington State and lost in the very last fourth quarter. Wazoo, as we know, is a very good team. And now they're going to Washington, which is a rivalry type game, and they're getting 9.5 points. That seems like a lot to me. Stanford's a marginal 4-4 against the spread, but Washington's 2-7 against the spread. Lastly, it looks like Myles Gaskin, the running back of the Huskies, might miss this game again. And so will stud offensive lineman Trey Adams. So Stanford has beaten Washington 2 of the last 3 years. This game should be a lot closer than 9.5. I see this game within the threes. Not sure if I'm going to... I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with the money line, but I'll tell you right now, we are taking Stanford plus 9.5 points. Let's get into Syracuse versus Wake Forest. Wake Forest plus 5, over under is 75. Well, this looks like a huge over under, right? Well, it should be, because both these teams are top 6 in the nation in plays per game. They play extremely fast. The truth is, though, this number is still too low. And I'll explain why. When two fast teams play against each other, it's kind of like a multiplication effect to how fast the game is going to go, how many plays the game's going to have on pace, you know? So it's not an average, which some people think, you know, they both play at about 120% of the speed of the average team. So the game should go at about 120%. No. When both these teams do this, it's a multiplication effect, and they are actually going to be at about 144%. 1.2 times 1.2. There's going to be a ton of plays this game. I'm thinking like 100 per team. 95 to 100 per team, okay? So that means you're going to get that much more production from these offenses. Both teams score a lot of points. Syracuse is 44 points per game. Wake Forest is at 34 points per game. Against playing average pace teams. You got to average it. We're plenty far in the year to do that. So both of these teams' defenses in the 100s. Out of 130 teams, they are in the 100s. I have this game, Syracuse winning about 44 to 35. All right. So believe it or not, we are taking over 75 points and not even worrying about it. Quick hitter. Well, let's go over some quick hitters. Navy versus Cincinnati, under 50 we are taking. So the Bearcats are amazing against the run, allowing about 3.4 yards per play. This should be enough to stop the triple option, I think, and shut Navy down. Navy's not the best triple option team this year. The Air Force is better, Army's better, Georgia Tech's obviously better. They're just not there like they used to be. I see a ton of running this game. I just do. And we know Navy can't pass. They really can't. And Cincy doesn't pass a lot either. They run the ball 62% of the time. So we are taking this over. There's going to be some long 6 to 8 minute drives in this game, under 50 points. Another quick hitter. Alabama versus LSU. Well, this is easy. Alabama first half over. It's automatic, right? The over at this spread, 14 and a half. The over should be about 7.5 or 8 in the first half. They'll probably be a dick and make it 8. Still take it. They are 8-0 against the spread on the first half overs, or the first half covers. So you're going to take, and sorry for saying over. I meant first half cover. Alabama's going to cover at the first half, and it's going to be about 7.5 or 8. So it's an auto bet because they're 8-0 this year. Utah versus ASU.